Preseason week 2 is in the books. Stevie, I have to ask you, a week from now, will anyone remember 38-0?
It depends. If we lose, yes. If we win, no. That's my take. Which
Yo, hit it, Sammy.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Bills Banter with Stevie Johnson and Michael F. Florio.
Fitzpatrick fires. Oh, caught! Steve Johnson! Touchdown, Buffalo! Why so serious?
The sickest Buffalo Bills podcast.
Allen will run it himself. He pumps. Got some daylight. Hurdles to the end zone.
It's gonna be sick.
we back at it. I got the guru with me, Michael F. Florio. I'm Stevie Johnson. This is the Sick Podcast. Welcome to Bills Banter. Mike, let's jump right into it. Are we going to talk about this 38-0 or are we going to move right on to the next topic? What we got?
I want to ask you. So look, you have the NFL experience of the two of us. First of all, I'm looking through your game logs right now. I don't think you were ever a part of a 38-0 beatdown like this before. But as a player, right? You play in a game like this where it doesn't go your way and stuff. Do you have more to take away from a game like that, or is it just kind of it wasn't our day, let's hit reset and get back to what we do?
You know, it's a little bit of both. You know, although I didn't go through that in the pros, I did experience that in college. Going up against LSU, they was nationally ranked. They ended up winning a national championship, and I believe they beat us 49-0. And what I got out of that game was just a lot of hunger. I figured that I had to play at a different level than what I was playing before, because when I was trying to play nice, we got blasted. I barely got catches, and the DBs was talking all type of trash to me. I remembered that, and I held on to that, and I built from that. So with that being said, you still got to move on from that and not really dive too much into it. So it's a little bit of both is how I put it. You know, it helped me, and it set me up to be even better.
When you're in a game like that, like just from your perspective, and they're talking, like you said, the DBs were talking. Do you talk back, or are you like, I'm going to wait for my moment? Because it's going to come eventually. It's just not today.
Me personally, I didn't say nothing. If I was losing, I didn't say nothing. I let them talk, and they can have it. This is their moment. You know, even if I was doing well, you know, against them, but if their team was winning, I didn't really talk back. I didn't say nothing because I'm not doing enough to get my team to win right now. So it was that's the why so serious part of it with myself, you know. So that's how that all tie in too with that why so serious, because you know that's how I thought.
So back in the day when, you know, like you were cooking DBs on a weekly basis, if the Bills lost, you were talking, because I feel like you could talk every game if you wanted to.
See, that's what I'm saying. You know, that's why this time in this day and age of NFL and the entertainment, I think it's so cool because people are able to talk trash, and we got teams talking trash to each other on social media, which is so cool because it matters to win. I'm not saying it don't matter to win or lose, but I mean, I wasn't getting as many wins, but I could have talked trash to all of these DBs individually and blasted them on social, and it would have been crazy. But I never did. Because and then when I did win, I was already on to the next, thinking about how we can get to the playoffs. So like, it's not enough, and that was also contribute to that why so serious mindset. So that's how that's how my mindset was going when I was here with Buffalo.
That's the handle business portion of it, right? Yeah. Like, I guess when you're winning and talking, that's the having fun part. But you got to handle business to have fun.
Got to have that balance. Got to have a balance.
And so, look, I know, like, last night wasn't great. Week 38-0. Obviously, nothing went right for the Bills. But the saving grace is it wasn't the starters. Something that you talk about all the time, Stevie, is that, like, next man up mantra, and like you need to be ready when your number is called. And last night was an opportunity for a lot of second and third string guys to make their presence felt, and they didn't. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, because look, we know with the offense everything changes when 17 is out there. Yeah. But on the defensive side of the ball, like these were our top. Harrison's not out there, but like it was the rookies from this draft class and stuff. And I won't say I came away feeling discouraged by what I saw, but I was like, these guys need to get this out of their system. Maybe this is a welcome to the NFL wake up call, because their numbers are going to be called at some point this season, and they're going to need to perform better than they did last night.
Definitely. And that's why it's tricky with the preseason, Mike. It's like you don't want guys to get injured. You don't want to go too hard. You're trying to preserve yourself because you know where you're at on the depth chart. You know kind of how many snaps you'll get when you drafted at certain levels, So preseason is hard to evaluate certain guys because they're being as vanilla as possible, And then we'll see if they turn it on within those first 5 weeks of the NFL season, the regular season. But right now, I think people are just preserving their body and trying to get through preseason so that they can attack the regular season. That's what it looked like to me.
This is just something I thought of as you were saying it. Like, how frustrating is that when you're trying to make a roster? Because, yeah, they're trying to be vanilla. They're not trying to give too much play calling way and stuff like that. But if you're someone fighting for your roster spot, like, you don't have that excuse to hang your hat on. So, like, can that get frustrating as a player?
Yeah, hey, great question. That's actually a really good question because you're actually being evaluated from practice, from meeting times, not only just the games, so you can't let that distract you. And another thing, you can't get distracted by is taking it too easy at practice because coaches they're evaluating every single thing that you do. So if you're showing that you're taking it easy, coaches can see it. The film don't lie, so you're always being evaluated. And that's not really an obstacle for players because coaches can see the effort, even when it's a vanilla offense, a vanilla playbook. But if you see those guys still, giving it their all and showing that this is like their last hope, I mean, coaches notice that. So just continue to go hard in the meeting rooms and in practice field. And that's go get them over the hump.
And look, we know there was no Josh Allen yesterday, but a big storyline on Hard Knocks and stuff is the QB2 battle. Mike White got the start yesterday, struggled to move the ball. We went on Adam Rank's podcast yesterday, and I joked that, like, from what I saw in the first half, I think that Mitch Trubisky locked it up. But then he played the second half, and they didn't score either. So, like, is this still a battle? Do you think Mitch has won it? And more than anything, is it just please stay healthy, Josh Allen? Because it looks very different.
Always that. With an MVP, you just want them to stay healthy. And as far as the battle goes with backup, it's Mitchell's job. And, that's that. It's not too much else to talk about with that position.
I did think, and this is something that I'm sure caught your eye as well. I thought the battle, because look, we know the top three wide receivers, Shakir, Coleman. I did think it was a little weird that Josh Palmer was out there last night, but we know he is a top three wide receiver. We know you really like him. But Elijah Moore versus Tyrell Shavers, right? Like these guys are competing potentially for wide receiver 4 or 5 spot, depending on these Curtis Samuel rumors, but they're competing for the last wide receiver spot potentially. Did one stand out to you? They're very different style receivers as well.
Yeah, for sure. Tyrell Shavers definitely stand out. He's been standing out since he's been in Buffalo with the little opportunity that he's been getting. But that's the same thing with Elijah Moore being on other teams. He stood out to me also as a receiver that has a great skill set that can be utilized in Buffalo. At this point, if we was talking about depth chart, I feel like Elijah Moore is in the situation where I was with San Francisco. Coming into that team, there was already about 4 or 5 receivers already on the depth chart, a couple rookies, a special team guy in Kasim Osgood, Brandon Lloyd, Anquan Bolden, Michael Crabtree. And then
so much talent.
You bring me in from Buffalo, and then you also had you drafted Bruce Ellington, who was a young stud out of South Carolina, and I didn't have the best preseason. I didn't have the best preseason coming in, but anything can happen. I feel like they're going to keep Elijah Moore on. You got to see what he can do with Josh Allen, and you also keep Shavers. You can keep both of them. That's what the 49ers did. I'm only speaking from my time, but that's kind of what it looks like now, where Shavers is kind of outplaying Elijah, obviously with the 2 drops. But at the same time, you still got to understand what Elijah has done in the NFL. this is preseason, he's still getting acclimated. I believe he'll catch on, and things will smoothen out for him. So I stand on both of them making the team.
And I think that's not a bad idea because, look, Curtis Samuel is a Swiss Army knife, but I don't think he is you can put him in the slot full time or put him out wide full time. I think he's best utilized when you're using him all over the field. So, like, Elijah Moore could be your Khalil Shakir backup, right? Like, if something happens to Shakir, he's already dealing with an ankle injury. Like, Moore could come in and be your full-time slot guy. Shavers, I think he brings something that the Bills lack outside of Keon Coleman, and that's size. Like, they have a very talented wide receiver room, but he is noticeably just bigger than everyone else out there. And I think that is a weapon you can utilize in the red zone, or he was utilized downfield in the preseason. Like I agree with you. I think both of these guys are talented enough where you carry 6 wide receivers. You make both of these guys 5 and 6 or whatever. They're really good depth, and they're pieces that maybe you don't have to play 40 snaps a game, but you can find ways to generate touches and get the most out of their talent.
Absolutely. And it's going to come down to depth. Even a strong young stud like Keon Coleman had to sit out for injuries. So you got to have somebody else ready to go. And that's what the Bills have. And that's what I love about what this management has done, building this roster up. Now it's just about getting to that next level of training to get to that next level of where we want, which is Super Bowl.
So, which takes us perfectly to our next segment on this show, because 38-0 left a lot to be desired. And Stevie, you saw something like that.
Yes.
You've been harping on it since last night. So the floor is yours. The Why So Serious segment of the week.
Indeed. The Why So Serious segment of the week is going to go to physicality. You must take it serious. And I'm not joking at all about this. The Bills got to find out a way to get physical within these routes when they got wide receivers or tight ends, even running backs coming out of the backfield. You got to jam them up. Jam them up, look at the quarterback, and continue to play your zone or do your drop or your read. But if you don't get a hand on them, 90% of the time, these elite athletes are going to get those big plays, and we're going to be holding our breath on every third down. And I don't like that feeling. That's too much pressure. So I need you guys to apply pressure somehow by getting physical. That doesn't only mean by coming down and laying the boom. You got to be physical within routes, disruptive, use the IQ, and that'll help things out. And now I can woosah.
And to your point, though, I feel like this is something the Bills defenses have. They always have talent. They're always going to have a great scheme with McDermott there. They're finesse guys. They're typically have, especially in the D-line, have been a little bit undersized to go for more speed. This year, they now have the size. I feel like this is the biggest Bills defense in the McDermott era, at least. And, like, if they can play physical and up front in the secondary, everything, like, you could take this defense to, like, you could be one of the defenses that teams circle on the calendar and know, like, ooh, that's going to be a tough recovery period after I play these guys. Right. They just got to get that mentality.
Yeah, you have to. The mentality, and it starts with just jamming people up and playing through your coverage, seeing what you can get away with. They got to start doing that, because if you look back at the game, even though it's a preseason game, but those are still techniques that's being taught. So I'm assuming that's going to roll over into the regular season. And if guys are just letting players run by them to do that over route, okay, that's going to be 15 yards all the time. If you go let guys just run up that seam and just touch them, and not grip them up and run to the spot and then try to get back to your zone, then that's going to be another easy play by a big tight end. That's going to make him look even better than what he should be. You got to be able to throw off timing and be disruptive, and that's how you stop great offenses. And like we were saying yesterday with our guy Rank, everybody's got a great offense this day and age in the NFL. So to neutralize it, got to be physical.
And what I want to ask you your point on this, because as someone from the outside looking in and someone who's been a fan my whole life, it's easy to say it's just preseason. And it's even easier when you have a guy like Josh Allen who didn't play. But as someone who has played and had a very long and like successful career, do players look at it that way? Like, this is just preseason, or is it like did that sting walking back into the facility today?
A little bit, brother. It's like it is just preseason, but the film don't lie. If you got bad plays on there, you got bad plays, and you got to fix it, or you got to show better effort. So in that sense, it's not just preseason. That can be a habit or tendencies that you're giving away for later on in the season that we may need to have you fix or cover up. So it's a double entendre with that. Yeah, we don't care about the score at the end of the day or the 1-1 win-loss record, but the plays you put on the field is still real. Those are still real plays. So if you're not giving it your all, like you were speaking earlier about guys that's trying to make the team, if you're being nice and thinking, oh, this is just preseason, let me kind of save it, even though I'm a 5th round draft pick or a later on type of guy, you're going to get cut. You got to go hard, even whether it's a preseason game or it's a preseason practice. You feel me? You got to keep going. It's just certain players that got to do certain things. That's my take, Mike.
Is the mentality, because you were saying earlier, like, you could be cooking a DB, but if you guys were losing, like, you weren't talking. Is the mentality the exact opposite for the preseason? Like, you don't care what the scoreboard says. You care about what you're putting on, like, your individual and like that's what matters most to you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you gotta beat the man that's across from you. And although, yeah, I mean, there's little wagers and friendly bets that we have with friends on other teams, in college, old college teammates. But yeah, overall, it's preseason. And you working on your endurance. You working on certain things within routes or plays. It's different mindsets because we can talk about rookies' mindset, or we can talk about a vet, how they approach the preseason. There's so many different ways we can do it. But at the end of the day, the wins and loss don't matter, but those individual battles, they matter a lot through preseason.
And look, I'm just going to say, man, we're talking about the Bills wide receiver battle right now. There's one in Buffalo right now as we speak who I think could still lace him up and get you a quick touchdown or whatever you might need right now. Like, at the very least, he's like, you could be coaching everyone as you're producing on the field. Like,
hey,
I think the Bills are missing an opportunity right here.
Look, it's never been done, but let's try it out. I'm gonna start working out this year, and maybe next year they'll let me try out on the team and do some.
The fans would welcome you with such open arms that, like, the team is missing an opportunity here.
It's really possible, though. No cap. It's really possible because. It's just about taking care of your body, man, and being able to fulfill your role. That's what a lot of players that I see with the Buffalo Bills, that's why they got a great team, because the role players understand that they're role players and they take pride in it. It's whatever. I know I'm going to get X amount of plays, but I'm going to do my part in it with pride. And that's what's got them to the next level and to the level that they are now. It's just about taking those risks now and sacrificing being a little bit illegal to get to that championship. And like we said, all broadcast, physicality is where it's at. We got the best finesse players. Everybody's got great finesse players. You got to be physical.
I'm going to get Brandon Bean on the line and just let him know that SJ13 is willing to lace him up one more time. But
please do. I'm calling you as my agent too. We make that happen.
I mean, I would only advise you to play for one team. Look, we've talked a lot of Bills though, but we watch other teams. Yeah. So I did want to ask you about some wide receivers. Because look, you also the fantasy charity league. We need to start filling this up. The draft is going to be the end of September. Now is when we're looking to get people in. If you want to be in the Club HBHF league, it's a donation.
Yep,
a $25 donation gets you in. $50 gets you shouted out on the pod. And $100 donation allows you to come on. I will step aside, and you and Stevie could just go back and forth about who's going to win this week.
Yeah, let's go lineup for lineup, player for player. During that week. Yeah. And you can donate to Venmo or Cash App at Club HBHF. And this goes right into the community, as we will be having our backpack giveaway coming up August 21st. So, yeah, big shout out to everybody that's been a part of this. This is year 3 for us, Mike, and I'm so glad that we're still able to keep it rocking.
So on that note, I wanted to know who are some, like, because look, obviously we're going to be drafting plenty of wide receivers in this fantasy league. Who, you don't have to give me all of your targets, but like just as a former receiver, who are some of your favorites from around the NFL to just watch do their thing?
Okay, yeah. I'll start with the top three: Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, and Khalil Shakir. I like them three personally. If we talking fantasy numbers, who would I go try to attack? I'm looking at obviously Jamar Chase, the guy. I think he put up 27 touchdowns. Now he put up 17 touchdowns. I'm looking at Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's going to be getting fed out there in Detroit. I'm also looking at Darnell Mooney. That's my sleeper right there. I really like Darnell Mooney from Atlanta, the Atlanta Falcons, number one. He was 8 yards shy of 1,000 yards. Once you get that 1,000 yards, you big dog status in the NFL, and he's got everything it takes. And I believe he'll be breaking out this upcoming season and going on into his career. So I'm looking forward to Mooney, aka Darnell Money.
I like that a lot. I wrote down a couple. I think AJ Brown is underrated in fantasy. Terry McLaurin. I love Calvin Ridley. Got it. Look, our producers are Titans fans. We gotta give them love. I did want to ask you about Malik Neighbors though, because when I watch Malik Neighbors play, I'm like, talent-wise, he's up there with, in my opinion, like the Jeffersons and the Chases of the world. I just don't think he had 1 year in the NFL. Wasn't the quarterback room kept changing, who was throwing him the ball and stuff. But I think Neighbors can jump into that elite tier. Do you see that when you watch him play?
Absolutely. He will. He has everything. He got the strength, the balance, the attitude, the speed, the hands. He wants the ball. He's vocal for it. He's everything that the receivers of this day and age is. And I feel like Malik, he is one of those top tier guys. It's just go take maybe this year with a quarterback that's go feed him, And I really like what they're building down there in New York. That's cool to see, as long as they don't, try to do too much over here with the Bills. But I like what they're doing out there.
People sometimes get annoyed, like the diva wide receiver but like someone like Neighbors is very vocal, and so I think I like that in a wide receiver. Like I want my wide receiver one or something like that to think he is the best player on the field at all times, because I feel like you need that edge at a position where like you're not only trying to beat your man or the zone coverage or whatever, you got to rely on the court. Like there's a lot that goes into getting the receiver the ball on one play, let alone 100 times a season. Like I think that's an edge, and you had that edge. But like when you see a receiver have that edge like that, is that like a bonus point for you or something?
Yes, absolutely. If I'm looking at college receivers or high school receivers, and mind you, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a perfect example of that. You go watch his tape from modern day at high school, and you just can see the attitude. You can see the fire and the grit that he's got. And it's like, okay, you got to keep an eye on this kid because he can be special. He's shooting for something else. Then you see him go through college, and it's like, wow, okay, we seeing he solidified that attitude. Now you go to the NFL and you see it. Same with Jamar Chase. You check them out at their Nike camps from high school, and they're doing backflips. They spinning the ball. They got that attitude. You got to keep an eye on them type of players. And every single one of those guys that showed that attitude and that spirit now in the NFL are stars, and that's pretty cool to see. And you also got guys that's reserved and calm, Marvin Harrison Jr. type, that don't have to say a lot, Khalil Shakir types that don't have to speak at all. They just handle their business. Those are the Jerry Rice, the technicians of the world. And that's cool. You can do that also. But there's guys with all different types of styles. Just own it, or try to own every style at some point, and evolve with this time. It's a special time right now in the league, seeing some special athletes make these plays.
I call Amon-Ra St. Brown the Arya Stark of the NFL, because he could list every receiver that went ahead of him before. Like,
oh, really?
And it's like 16 of them, and he could tell you like the name and the college and everything. And I'm like, that is what you need to stand out in a league like the NFL. Because he was a 4th round pick. It wasn't a guarantee for him,
Yeah, unbelievable. And I remember watching Amon-Ra at the Nike camp and seeing him do the come to balance, the move that I understand will shake every DB. You get the advantage on every time. And I seen him do it at the one-on-ones. And I'm like, okay, who is this kid? Amon-Ra St. Brown. He gonna be something. And he was cooking. Then he went out there and spun the ball backflip again. It was pretty cool. Then they had a kid on the other side who was named Jamar Chase, and he was doing this. He was more slow motion with it, but he came to balance and he was setting them up. I'm like, man, these youngins go be fired. They go be bombing. This is at the Nike camp, and here they are, stars now.
So clearly, like for people, obviously Stevie works with these receivers when they're you do training with kids like when they're real young and stuff. So you've seen a lot of talent come up through the high school and college ranks and stuff. Are there any like young wide receivers that maybe aren't household names yet, but you were like they're going to be great in this league?
What you mean like in the pros right now?
Yeah, or up and coming, but
yeah, I felt like Mooney was one. He kind of got on that scene. He got on the scene last year. 900 yards is big.
Yeah,
but it was quiet, and I don't think people expected that. It was kind of like when Steve Breaston popped onto the scene, with Arizona, and then me myself popping onto the scene. That's a guy that I think a lot of people got to get some respect. So I want to shine the light on Mooney. Because there's a lot of stars around the league, man. Even when you speaking up on Calvin Ridley, he's battling, he's overcoming things, and now he's in a great spot to be a high draft in the fantasy because we know he's going to get fed. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna stick with those guys right now.
Yeah, you're a great example of that because you had 112 yards coming into the 2010 season, and then 1,073 and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good example. Like people write off players very early into their career, and like you need to give time some because look, everyone wants to be Jamar Chase and hit day one, but that's not going to be the case. And I think fantasy players and NFL fans are too quick to write off some of these young guys if they don't have an amazing rookie season or something. Sometimes situations are you're on the depth chart a little bit or whatever the case may be.
Indeed. I like to give props to guys like Juwan Jennings also in San Francisco who had to deal with, his teammate getting contract, having negotiation things, and him being a late round draft pick, producing, being the leading receiver and battling through things. Like he's a guy who he don't get a lot of attention, he don't, but he show up every time, he show up for the 49ers. So he's one of those guys that I like to give props to, and hopefully he can keep progressing and get paid. Lad McConkey, he came in as a rookie, setting the tone, and that's huge. Now to have Keenan come back to play with him, I think it's going to take pressure off of him and Keenan. It's going to help that team out to be on a whole nother level. So I'm going to keep my eye on those LA Chargers also with that much more mature receiving core. We just have to see what their defense can do. It's similar to our Buffalo Bills. If they can be physical, maybe they got action. But if not, anything can happen.
I feel like Lad could learn so much from Keenan. Like he's already got a lot of the similar talents. And you mentioned the 49ers. I love Juwan Jennings. I also think Ricky Pearsall this year is going to become a name that more people know. I think he got to flash a little bit last year. But just being a part of that Shanahan, I think he's very talented, but also being a part of that Shanahan, like certain coaches just get the most out of their players. And I think he is very much so one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I never asked anybody else, like, what is your why so serious for coming up? Yeah, tell me what's your why so serious?
Like what Bills related or wide receiver?
Bills related.
I think the Bills are I think I don't know if I want to put this out there, but I think this is it, right? Like this is, for years it was like, okay, obviously we have the quarterback question answered now, but like there was a couple years where the run game wasn't as solidified as it is now, or last year it felt like the defense was a little bit in a transitional year. I feel like this is the year, right? Like you have Josh coming off of the MVP. James Cook is paid and is clearly the RB1. They added so much talent on defense. Love the wide receiver room. That they have numerous tight ends that could contribute. It's all there for the taking this year, and I think
this is
only superstitious or whatever. I think the stars are going to align the last year in Ralph, and this is the year.
That'd be amazing. How about this? Do you think there's going to be another transaction before season begin between the Buffalo Bills and another team?
Yes. I don't know what it will be exactly, but
offensive side or defensive side?
It's
I
hard.
feel
They
like
have so
defense.
much depth at I would say offense. I think
Offense? Oh,
and maybe this is crazy. Like I could see them if a wide receiver became available. I kind of like what they did with Amari Cooper last year, like a veteran wide receiver.
you think we
I could
still
see
looking
them
for a
getting into.
receiver,
I
huh?
don't know who it would be though.
Interesting. So you don't see nothing happening on the defensive side?
I mean, it sounds like you do.
I mean, I don't know. I just feel like, we're going to need some extra DBs back there. And we might move from different positions to get another DB. But I think they see it.
That
They
I
see it.
could see. I mean, I know Harrison has been out. Maybe they view him coming back as something, but I could see that. Hey, I mentioned Amari Cooper's name. He is still unsigned and capable. I want them to sign you, Stevie, but Amari Cooper, not a bad fallback option.
Yeah, no, I loved Amari. He was good, a great pickup. He was perfect for the team. I don't know why he's not on the team right now, but I feel like, so with our safeties, with Taylor
Safety
Rapp,
is a position I could definitely think they could use an upgrade at.
yeah, I feel like we can add somebody there, because injuries. Taylor Rapp is he great player, cerebral player, but he's also a hammer when he comes to make tackles and things like that. So if he can go all season, okay, cool, that's great. But I think he's going to sit a couple games because just the way he play, his effort. So we're going to need people in the back end that step on the field and they can dominate things. They're not learning. We don't.
Yeah.
I don't think our Bills have time for somebody to step on the field and be learning.
Cole Bishop very much so still learning, and also very much so has struggled to stay on the field. So it's hard to know what you have in him because he's been unavailable so much. But actually, yeah, if they did upgrade any position, I do think safety's towards the top of the list.
Yeah, and I don't think Cole gets moved. I just think Cole just needs more reps. That's all that is. With the young guys, it's just about reps. Some guys come in and they already, they're there. Because some teams you get to play way more. Cole, he had to deal with injuries and he had to sit behind certain players. So it's just about reps with him. I see him moving fluid, and I see the depth that the Bills have with other guys like a Charlo, like the Hancock, where players like Rap can be by committee. They can attack by committee instead of taking 76 plays every week. That is brutal, So if they can fulfill that depth and use it right, Bills will be in great hands.
They could use a veteran, kind of like for years they had Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde, and like last year Hyde was like the player coach kind of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very young room. Like there's a lot of talent there, but if a veteran was available, I think it would make sense to maybe just to be a leader. Like you said, you don't even have to play all the snaps. You could just be a rotational piece, but just maybe a little bit of look, they got that in every other room, right? The receiver room is pretty young, but a lot of
Khalil,
experience.
he's way mature. He's been through different receiver crews and teams and rooms, so he's mature on a level where he's that guy. He is that vet.
But yeah, it's why my why so serious was so bold, because I don't see a clear weakness on this team. I like the depth. I know it's rough to say that after a 38-0 preseason loss, but I feel better about the depth on this team than I think I ever have in the Josh Allen era.
Yeah, I got one more for you, Mike.
Ooh.
So Tyrell Shavers. Now he's a baller. He's been making plays on offense. In college, he made probably 3 to 4 or 5 plays on special teams, not as a returner though. Do we try him and test him at special teams to be a returner? Because we've seen his ability to go 60 yards, 40 yards or more. And with the speed that he's got, do you think we try him at kickoff return and fill that void of special teams that we have right now?
I would, because then you get to carry another receiver and you don't feel bad about it, and you can utilize his size, and his strides are, forget about it. I mean, he's so tall and everything that I would try. And look, maybe even not as just a returner. Like I wouldn't want to get hit by him if I'm on special teams. So maybe I'm a big believer that I think you should try to maximize the value of every player on your roster, which is why I know some people don't love Travis Hunter trying to play both sides. I'm all about it. I'm like, if he could give you 2 roster spots in one, why would you not want that as a team? Like,
Right.
so yeah,
We'll see that more.
the more, and you could speak on this as a player, but the more versatile you make yourself, the more valuable you are.
Absolutely. That's the first thing that they say to the guys that's undrafted or third. No, I ain't gonna say third round. I'll say maybe fourth round. You can kind of chill, but late fourth round and on, yeah, they come in and say, look, you gotta learn everything. And that's why I was so good at the playbooks, because I had to learn the Z, I had to learn the X, the Y, the F. You feel me? I had to learn 4 different positions on the offense, while the first and the second round guys, they only had to learn 1 position. So it kind of hurt them, and it helped me to learn everything.
Were you a big special team guy?
No, I wasn't. But like with Tyrell Shavers, I'm ready to do whatever to get on the field. So I was on special teams, as far as hands team, onside. I was on the front line. I was doing everything. I was doing the gunner. That's where I learned how to do even more releases and getting more physical, was practicing gunner. But that's where you show your effort. Going back to earlier in our conversation, those little reps matter. You might think, oh, this is just gunner reps. Yeah, a lot of people get cut just by taking it easy at gunner reps, But then you got guys like myself who would look at it and see it as a challenge and a task. And coaches see that effort, and they keep those guys around just a little bit longer. And maybe that little bit longer is where that big opportunity happened, and you make a big play against the Detroit Lions, and you become SJ13,
Because that's just showing, like it's the mentality. Like, the coaches must see it as like, I know I can trust this guy if I have to put him in, because he's working on everything. I also, to give you credit, I think you would have been a nasty punt returner. You had the shiftiness for it.
Look, I also tricked the coach. They put me on special teams, and I kind of just went kamikaze. I was supposed to go do this certain job, but I went and did another job so that they can think I was crazy and say, hey, look, Stevie, we got to take you off of special teams. And it ended up working. So they was like, hey, look, this guy, he's going through crazy and he's doing good at practice. I don't want him to get hurt. Take him off special teams now. And I was like, hey, it worked. Now I kept that to myself. Now I'm told the whole world about that now.
So obviously, like, if you're a young guy trying to make the team, you want to do whatever you can to make it. But like, when you're a veteran there, you don't want to play special teams, right? You're like, let these young guys do it. Like, I'm taking enough hits.
And honestly, Mike, that's the wrong way to think about it. And unfortunately, like during those times when I was coming in, I was so excited to do everything. But when I started getting into that vet mode and hearing how other vets would sound, it was like, yeah, let the youngins do it, and it's like you kind of get into that and you kind of lose your spunk a little bit, because it's like, all right, just let the youngins do it. That ain't the way to go about it. Like, I got re-sparked when T.O. came in, and it was late in the season, not early in the season. Yeah, it's exciting, but late in the season in the cold, he was 36 and he was still going at it, calling DBs out, line it up for the one-on-ones. And I was like, man, that's how you got to love the game, and that's why he is who he is.
One thing, I know we got to wrap, but one thing I think the NFL does nowadays that it didn't used to do is I think it tries to force players out too soon. Like, T.O. at 36 still, I think a lot of, look, it's the special ones are the ones that could play that long, not your average like wide receiver. But the league, it seems like it's trying to get guys younger and younger. And I'm like, it takes away from like they would have kicked Jerry Rice out of the league. They would have been like, you're too old. Like, it takes away from some of these really cool stories of seeing you and T.O. get like that wouldn't be possible now, because T.O. would have been out of the league probably before getting that chance or something like that.
Indeed. And I'm sure there's guys that still can get out there and do something, or do some type of practice team for skill development, so that they can see the physicality as opposed to just hearing us talking about it. But at the end of the day, man, you got to give props to guys like LeBron James, that overcame things, that understood the value of mentorship, and was able to, and that is able to continue going. What is it, 20 plus years? Guys like Aaron Rodgers, who probably still think about sitting in the green room. There's something about it. Something about them. They special, And you got to give all credit to him. And I give props to that for sure.
And you talk about Tyrell Owens. Like, I've never shared a football field with him, but I did show up to softball over the summer, and he was at the game playing and hit a home run. And I was like, this dude looks like he can still get 1,000 yards right now.
Man, and, hey, who's going to be the team to say, all right, look, let's start this legends division where we bring 2 or 3 legends back just for the practice squad and get these young boys right. That might be something cool. We don't have to play on the Sundays.
Flag is blowing up. You guys don't got to put your body on the line to keep playing. I would watch that.
The thing about flag, bro, is that's losing the physicality. That's making these players not be physical. The flag it's cool though. Like I'm for it, and I'm for it because girls are getting the opportunity, and everybody are able to play because everybody doesn't like being physical or going to hit the pads. But when we talking about football or guys that's transitioning back to the pads, and they still using that flag mentality, that's where it kind of hurt them at. That's where I hope Josh Palmer can evolve from trying to be finesse receiver and not being touched to being physical. Let me get my shoulder on you and get to this half of you and drive you up. They don't do that in flag. It's people staying away. So you got to be physical, and that's one thing that I like about Josh Palmer because he's got the ability and he's got the size and everything to do those things.
I know we're way off topic here, but with flag being an Olympic sport in 2028, a lot of NFL players are saying they want to play. Mm-hmm. I personally don't think it's going to translate, but you would know better than me. Do you think, because so much of playing in the NFL is physicality, and then you watch these flag players and they're like crawling on the floor to not get their flag ripped. I don't think it's going to translate as well as they think, but what do you think?
I think it will because we all athletes at the end of the day.
True.
And in athletes, what they say, athletes adjust. And I believe it'll definitely transfer over. I just think they gotta regulate it somehow where every location, every team will have certain amount of pros on their team, because every country got a pro team, not necessarily like the NFL, but their own league. And you can get X amount of players. Like I know some Brazil guys, shout out to those guys who's balling in those pro leagues. You gotta just regulate it correctly.
No disrespect to any of these other flag players from other countries and stuff. It might be a little unfair if we're throwing out like Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Micah Parsons.
Right, a whole squad of NFL, that don't make sense. I mean, it kind of is fair though, because when you talk about the NBA, you throwing out all of the NBA guys. So when you think about it like that, man,
we're getting closer and closer though. Like it's gonna happen where country beats America soon. Like
because they got some fire flag football players too. I've seen a quarterback, a couple of receivers that was fire, and that is their world. And if we can play with them, that's cool. More power to US to go against these other countries and dominate. Because I'll be pissed off if we playing flag football and America and USA didn't win. If we didn't win, I'm gonna be upset.
They're looking for Olympic athletes right now. I mean, we're talking about you playing with the Bills in red, white, and blue. Maybe you just team USA.
Right, and it's in LA. I'm right down the street. I'm ready to cook.
They're gonna be playing in SoFi, I think. Like, come on down.
Indeed. I'm gonna be around. I'll be around, brother.
But I think we got off topic enough. Just a reminder, the Fantasy Charity League, Club HBHF, it is a donation. 25 gets you in, 50 gets you a shout out on the pod, 100 gets you an appearance on here with Stevie the week that you play him. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please sign up for that. Stevie, take it away.
Yeah, man. Just make sure y'all tap in with our social media. You can tap in with Mike at Michael F. Florio and on X, and you can tap in with Stevie at Stevie Johnson 13. Make sure y'all remember to handle business, have fun, and repeat. This is Bill's Banter. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Bill's Banter on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.